You're standing in line, scrolling, half asleep, thinking about absolutely nothing. And then, out of nowhere, a feeling. Not a thought. A feeling. Something at the back of your neck. Low, certain. That says, you are being watched, so you turn around. And someone is looking right at you. They glance away, embarrassed. You glance away, embarrassed. And nobody says the obvious thing. Which is, how did you know? Seriously, how? You didn't see them. They were behind you. You didn't hear them. They weren't making a sound. And yet something in your body detected another human's attention pointed at you, across a room, through the back of your skull, and fired off an alarm accurate enough that you turned to the exact right spot. That is not a coincidence. That is not your imagination. That is one of the oldest, strangest, most quietly sophisticated systems your brain has, and almost nobody knows it's running. So let's open it up. Start with the obvious objection, because you're already thinking it. Maybe I just heard something. A shuffle, a breath, a shoe on the floor, and your brain filled in the rest. And sometimes, sure, that's exactly what happens. Your senses pick up way more than you consciously notice, but that doesn't explain the cases where there was nothing to hear. The silent room, the crowded train, the person 3 cars back. To understand what's really going on, you have to look at what your brain is built to find, and the answer is eyes. Humans are obsessed with eyes, specifically with whether eyes are pointed at us, and we are freakishly, almost unreasonably good at detecting it. Here's the wild part. Go look at your own eye in a mirror. Right now, if you can, you'll see a dark center, the pupil, sitting in a colored ring, the iris, surrounded by a large area of bright white. That white is called the sclera, and humans are the only primate that has it exposed like this. Every other species, chimps, gorillas, every monkey on the planet, has dark sclera that hides which direction their eyes are pointing. We evolved the opposite. We basically built a high-contrast target and bolted it onto our faces, one that broadcasts our gaze to everyone around us. Scientists call this the cooperative eye hypothesis. We needed to follow each other's attention so badly, to coordinate, to teach, to warn, that we evolved eyes designed to be red, which means you are walking around with a built-in arrow that points wherever you're looking. And here's the kicker, so is everyone else. Now here's where it gets interesting, because your brain dedicates serious hardware to reading those arrows. There are neurons in a region near the back and side of your brain, the superior temporal sulcus, if you want the fancy name. That fire specifically in response to gaze direction, not faces in general. Gaze, researchers have found individual cells that respond to eyes looking left, different cells for eyes looking right, and a special response for eyes looking directly at you. Direct gaze gets its own dedicated processing. Let that sink in. Your brain treats someone is looking at me as its own separate category of information, important enough to deserve its own circuitry. That's how much this matters to you as an animal. And it's fast, faster than thinking. Studies on something called the stare in the crowd effect found that a face looking directly at you pops out of a crowd almost instantly, while faces looking away take longer to find. Your visual system flags direct gaze before you've consciously processed a single other detail in the room. Read that again. Before you know what you're looking at, you already know it's looking at you. But here's the question that breaks the whole thing wide open. If this is all about seeing eyes, then how on earth do you feel watched from behind? You can't see behind you. There are no eyes in the back of your head. And this is the part where most people throw up their hands and go, okay, it's supernatural, a sixth sense, some kind of energy. It's not. And honestly, The real answer is way cooler than that. It comes down to how good your brain is at guessing. Your brain is a prediction machine. It is constantly, every single second, building a model of the space around you out of fragments. A sound you barely registered, a shadow shifting at the edge of your vision, the subtle behavior of people you can see, reacting to something you can't. So, if 3 people in front of you flick their eyes over your shoulder, your brain does the math. Without telling you, it quietly concludes there's something behind you worth their attention. And it generates a feeling, not words, a feeling. That prickle on your neck, that's your brain handing you the answer while hiding all its homework. You experience it as a mystery because the calculation happened down in the basement and only the result got delivered upstairs. And now, let's be honest. Because this is the part that keeps it from being magic. You're wrong. A lot. This is the uncomfortable little truth researchers ran into when they actually tested the sense of being stared at in controlled experiments. People sitting with their backs to someone who was randomly either staring or not performed at roughly chance. Coin flip odds. A literal coin would do your job. So why does it feel so reliable? Because of how memory works. That one time you turned around and someone really was staring? That burned in. Unforgettable. Proof. The 100 times you turned around and nobody cared? Gone. Forgotten instantly. Your brain keeps a highlight reel of its greatest hits and quietly deletes the bloopers. The sense feels psychic because you're only remembering the times it was right. But here's what I find genuinely beautiful about this. Even being wrong is the system working perfectly. Think about the stakes your ancestors were playing with. If you felt watched, turned around, and nothing was there, the cost? A moment of mild embarrassment. That's it. But if you didn't feel watched and something was there, a rival, a threat, a predator lining up behind you, the cost was everything. Game over. So, when the price of a miss is death and the price of a false alarm is basically nothing, evolution does not build you to be accurate. It builds you to be paranoid. A brain that assumes it's being watched and is wrong most of the time absolutely crushes a brain that waits around for proof. You are the descendant of the nervous ones, the cool, calm, let me gather more data ones? Yeah, they didn't get to become anybody's ancestor, and it goes deeper than survival, right into the thing that makes us us, because we don't just detect gaze. We are wired to assume there's a mind behind it. The moment you feel watched, you don't picture a pair of floating eyeballs. You instantly imagine a person with intentions, thoughts, an opinion about you, probably about what you're wearing. This is called theory of mind, the ability to model what's happening inside someone else's head. And it might be the single most important thing our species ever developed. Here's the wild twist. The same machinery that makes you feel watched is the same machinery that lets you love, lie, cooperate, and lie awake at 3 a.m., caring what a stranger thought of you. The crowd sensing system and the empathy system are the same system. You literally cannot have one without the other. So the next time you're standing in line and that feeling crawls up the back of your neck and you turn around and lock eyes with a total stranger, that isn't a glitch. That isn't paranoia. That is 100,000 years of survival firing right on schedule. That's the exposed white of your eyes, and theirs evolved specifically so the two of you could find each other across a crowded room. That's a brain so desperate to know who's paying attention to it that it built a radar for souls and forgot to mention it was on. So, go ahead, turn around. You already know someone's there. You were built to.